Right, hopefully we're both recording.
I think
I
I am
am here
definitely.
today for the first time on my channel with Dave Mahony. And hey, we met for the first time in person at Glastonbury at the Hoona Flash event. And I thought, right, about time we had a chat. So how are you
Absolutely.
doing, first of all, Dave?
Very good, Catherine. I've been super busy. I never seem to have a free day. I figured it out that I've got about 2.5 hours to myself every day by the time I do recordings, editing, and running around my usual stuff. So, but it's great. I prefer to keep busy than being bored and, switching on the TV and just watching whatever mindless entertainment they throw at me. There's always something I have to investigate, and as the more and more people that you talk to, the more and more things come up. You think, I like that. And chemtrails is it this week. I'm having, listen to this one. I won't talk about it long because we know what they are. But somebody I met at the show in Birmingham with Charlie, he's a retired, well, he's not retired by choice. He's retired because he won't take the jibby jab. And he's been taking fuel samples of the fuel because you can't do all the chemtrailing. They use special aircraft that the whole fuselage, all the seats have been stripped out. But
Yeah.
he's got a theory now because the chemtrails are so close together that some of the other normal passenger jets have got it in their fuel. So he's managed to secure several different samples of the fuel from around the country from contacts he has. And now we're in the process of having these micropartically analyzed to see if there's any heavy elements in the fuel that they're putting in normal passenger jets. And he suspects, and I agree, there is. So I've been working on that story to see if I can get some actual forensic evidence to lay before people to say, we tested your fuel, it's got this shit in it. So that's one of the main things I've been working on as far as the other stuff. And then I've got Norway coming up this weekend with more Burning Mask, the ceremonies and the gatherings with Hoona Flash and the House of Hoona. Norway and Ireland are the two most important ones that we've done. We've done Mexico, Glastonbury, which you were at, and then we were in Holland, then Germany. Now it's Norway coming up tomorrow. And then the following weekend, Ireland. But we're going to have some extremely powerful people on the spiritual wavelength there. You know most of them, Catherine. We've got Mark Atwood. We've got Lucy Davis is coming in. We've got this new girl, Kate Rains, who's talking about the ARC ships and the piloting and the channeling information. And her story is blown up for me. I'm getting emails all over. From Australia, I had one today saying, hey, we've already got our crew assembled. We know who we are. We want to get in touch with Kate. So all in all, keeping myself extremely busy, but extremely diversified on all aspects. I enjoy all these different subjects. I think it's a great way to fill up your brain with knowledge. So I think you need to be aware of what's going on around you on all fronts, behind, sideways. So that's what I've been up to.
Yeah, it's so important to put it all together, isn't it? Because everything's linked, and once one bit of the jigsaw puzzle falls into place, everything else starts cascading through. But one of the things I really wanted to speak to you about today, because I haven't heard you talk much about it, is your spiritual development and your journey, particularly over the last few years, what you've been doing personally and why you feel that's so important at this time.
Oh, that's a good question. I wasn't. Your stomach punched me with that one, haven't you? Well, I suppose I need to go back a bit. It hasn't really been like an overnight wake up for me. I've always dabbled with this. I grew up in Ireland, in the south of Ireland, just south of Cork, and my parents were very woken. Like my father, he's dead now. He's been dead about 10 years. He was a real rebel when it comes to government establishments. I mean, all through the 70s and 80s, he never put tax on his car. He would never do all those things that they said, oh, you have to do. He says, no, I don't have to do any of that rubbish. He knew about common law.
Wow.
Yeah, he used to do all of that, and it was embarrassing growing up as a kid because he'd always be arguing with somebody, can't park here, can't do this, can't do that. He never paid any of the parking tickets or fines or anything. And he was always in court, I remember, but he was never found guilty, and I never realized why. Unfortunately, he died before I was really aware of common law, because I would love to have got in there. But I do remember some of the stories he taught me very young, that anybody in uniform is not your friend. The government is not your friend. So I was always sidestepping. Like you'll remember, there was a tax in England called the poll tax. We'd have been teenagers at the time when that came out, Catherine, yeah? And I remember he said, look, fill in the form, because they know where you are, but fill it in deliberately wrong. Instead of saying what's your birthday, put today's date in there and send it back in, and you can get months out of messing about with them like this. And in the end, they caught me on the phone on the landline once and said, "We've made a special appointment for you because you're obviously struggling with the information forms." Why is she talking to me like that? So,
complete idiot.
yeah, my mother's still with us. She's always been a little bit of a white witch, you know. She has a wedding ring of her grandmother around her neck, and I was often use it as a pendulum if there's a pregnancy around her in the family. And, you know, she does a lot of, she has little, I would say little prayer shrines to St. Michael. She often uses that, and it seems to work a lot.
Well, you can see my broomstick and my herbs there in the background. So
yeah, drying.
One of those. Yeah.
So I've been, you know, in Ireland's such a spiritual place where there's always people that are doing, you know, natural cures. They'd come in with incense, or they'd come in with burning and de-cleansing your house, cleansing it, getting rid of the bad energy. What's the herb they burn?
Sage.
Sage. That's it.
Got one here. Got loads drying in the background there with
crystals and sage. I've been around all that, although I didn't take much notice of it. But I think you've got to associate your spiritual side with what your beliefs are, where we've come from and where we're going to after we cross over, after we knock on death's door and enter that. And I think one of the earliest things I can remember was when my grandfather died. I was about 18 or 19. And he was a really jolly, typical English gentleman, always had a tie on. He was a Gemini, and he was very flirtatious. You know, he'd say to the most repulsive barmaid, "Oh my God, you're one of the most beautiful barmaids I've ever seen." You know, he's very charming. And when he eventually died, we went to see the body laid out in one of these, you know, places before they do the funeral. And we're all there crying. My whole family's very upset, as you do as a death in a family. And they brought us into this room, and there was a guy saying, "This is the body. This is the remains of your loved one." And I looked at him and I said, "Who's that?" And they said, "Well, this is your departed family member." And I said, "No, it isn't. You brought us into the wrong room, you idiot." And I was completely convinced that the body that I was looking at was not my grandfather. And then I looked at him, and something I recognized, a scar or something. And I went, oh, I see it now. I said, whatever the energy was in him, it's just gone. I said, this is a meat shell. This is just, there's nothing in there. And I immediately went from being sad and low and down. I had this euphoric laughter, and I just started laughing. You know, my brother slapped me. My mother was giving me foul looks. But I just found it so liberating to just know, like, that's not even him. He's gone. Where is he? What's going on next? So that was a really liberating thing for me spiritually. And as I got a little bit older, there were certain things I realized that, you know, you can't always control every situation. You can fight against it. You know, I'm quite ambitious, and I'm very industrious and entrepreneurial. I've never really had a job for anybody else. I've always done my own thing. And then I noticed as I got into my 30s that, you know, oh, this is a really good idea, but you just keep getting blocked by it. No matter if it is a good idea, like, let's just say you want to open up an ice cream parlor, but, you know, you don't get the licenses, and there's an ice cream parlor opens right across the street from you. So I noticed in life that you get blockages. And my character from my parents that molded this was always, okay, this is not a problem. This is just an opportunity to find a solution. So I would always find a way around it. And then I realized, why am I fighting against the current? Just within reason, with 2 or 3 warnings you'll get, why not go with it and see what happens? So I learned that, which was great. But something happened to me when I was 17, Catherine. I had my cards read at 17 in Ireland, and she said, "You will live a fantastic lifestyle. It looks to me like it's a Hollywood lifestyle, but you're not in Hollywood." She says, "You do all this stuff, and it's like a movie what you're doing." She says, "You're going to live in one of the world's most beautiful islands for a few years, but you won't like that." And then she predicted so many things. And then she said, "Oh, turn these around." She said, "Look," she did the tea leaves at the end. She says, "Can you see that? What do you see?" I said, "I see a map of America." America played a huge part in my life. And various other things, personal things that have happened in my life, romances, relationships, people coming in, people going out, business things. So she says, but the biggest blockage is you are blocking all of these things that happen. She said, let go of the reins and let the horse take you where you're supposed to go. And then...
And that was at 17, was it?
17, yeah.
Did you
and
on board then, or did it take you a while to actually...
It took me a while, because things that she told me came true. Literally, that was my birthday at 17. She says, you're going to America and you're going really soon. You'll be away a while. And literally, in August, I turned 18 in June. In August, I bought a one-way ticket to JFK, and I was 3 years in the States. And then she says, you'll go into South America. You're going to live on one of the world's most beautiful islands for a while. And that was Aruba. And I sat out the first Gulf War in Aruba. And so many things that she told me. But I've had 3 psychics in my life all tell me the same things. And they've all come true. But the biggest one was, I was walking down the street in Spain, and I was approached by a really beautiful German girl. I mean, bright blue eyes. It's like looking into the eyes of an alien. Blonde hair, beautiful. She still looks amazing today. This is about 15 years ago. And she said, I need to talk to you. And I said, oh, what have I done? I've upset her, obviously. And she had a guy with her, which was the boyfriend. And he didn't say a word to me, a German girl. She said, I'm going to speak with you. I said, oh, okay. And she said to me, there's a small man following you in uniform. I said, what do you mean? She said, well, you would know him by a ghost, but I would say it's an energy. And it was the dead grandfather of this girl I was dating at the time from New Mexico. And I loved him like my own grandfather. He was amazing. I knew him I had the privilege of knowing him for about 5 years. He was at a GI, and he was one of the D-Day veterans that got off one of the first waves coming in 44 for the Americans, fought his way through Europe. Brilliant guy, and I loved him like my own grandfather, and he died. He was old. But then she told me, this is where it gets interesting, so sorry to waffle like this for your listeners. She said, I have been sent here to wake you up. I said, wake me up? She said, yeah, you need to be woken up. She said, you've got a really important mission, and I have to wake you up. But you're so asleep, it's going to take me 6 months. I said, shut up. I mean, what are you really after? A bit of leg over, baby. Let's just get on with it. No. She said, you will do something with the media. And there's a German word which comes from Turkish, and it's sapsrap. It's like a big illusion, a big trick. She said, you will do something with the media, a big trick, and you will contact millions and millions of people, and you will help them and wake them up. And she says, I don't really know what it is, but it's something to do with media. It's not television. It's not film. She says there's a little bit of that, but you will do some big trick with the media and reach millions of people, and they will love you. I said, okay. But she said, and here's the really interesting part, and I've told my family know this story, and it's freaked them out for years, including my sister, who's probably triple jabbed by now. She said, Mahony, there will be a virus, and it will come very quickly. America will be the first to close its doors to the world, and the rest of the world will follow. The world will go into sleep for 2 years, and when they wake up, there will be a vaccine. But the vaccine will not cure the people that have the virus. They will die. Millions of people will die because the vaccine, it mutates, and the vaccine kills them. I said, all right. She said, you will lose 50% of the people you've ever met and loved in your life. You will lose them. And I said, do you mean they're going to die because of the virus? Being very naive, she said, you will lose them. I said, are they going to die? She said, you will lose them. And what she meant was the division as well as the death. And I've realized that now. So 15 years ago, she told me everything. She told me the virus will come. It will come really quickly. America will close the doors. It will shock the world. The world will follow. 2 years, the world will go to sleep. She says everything goes to sleep for 2 years. Then the virus mutates, and the vaccine doesn't save the people that invented and released the virus. It will kill millions. And she said only the woke will survive. And it's now played out to be exactly that, Catherine. So that's the first part. And she said, your mission, you will find yourself traveling to go and learn all of the skills that you need to perform this mission that you're on. She said you'll do a lot of traveling, you'll go to like crazy places, and you will assemble a team of people that will help you with the skills you learn. So in between all those years, I've learned how to be a pilot. I already knew how to sail. So I can fly, drive, ride, or sail, and fixing engines. I can fix electronics. I learned how to fix all the airplane, and when there's a red light on, following it back. I mean, I started tearing apart iPhones just to see how they work and putting them back together with 4 different parts that were all scrap. My son had one working for 4 or 5 years. So I've learned all these skills. My languages, I speak German, Portuguese, Dutch, English, Spanish, 5 languages. All the skullduggery and trickery I've learned about the law, how to circumnavigate all of these things. And now with this media career, she's right, you know, all the broadcasting that I do has really got to literally millions of people. I think we tracked it to be about 16 million people have watched something that I've been in so far. And it's all about helping them, passing on the information. So the spiritual side of me was, this is the foundation. But what I've learned in the last 3 years, really Huna's helped a lot with that, is how to identify when there is one of those moments, when you have a spiritual moment. And it's about signs, reading the signs.
Yeah.
You know, for example, a lot of people see numbers, 333. You know, I'm not going to say the 3 6s, but you know, most people, oh, you know. I see 747 a lot, which means, if you look it up, some one of the angels' numbers, it means you're on the right path. Keep going. So you got to identify the signs. I started seeing things like coincidences, like, oh, that's a bit funny. Like, you know, when you're thinking about somebody and then the phone rings.
Yeah.
You pick it up and it's them, and you just know, oh, I know who that is. And it's about this fine tuning, about letting go of your rational side and accepting that there is some sort of greater, more powerful force out there, and it is driving you to be in the right place at the right time. And each day gets stronger and stronger. I leap out of bed every morning, and you know, I'm just excited. It's like Christmas Eve as a kid. You just don't know what's going to happen next. Yeah, so that's the whole background. I'm 51 now. I'm in better physical shape than I was in my 30s. I'm much more awake and alert. I can see through all of the smoke. Every time there's a story comes out, I can see exactly what they're doing on the news. I seem to have this protection around me because, you know, wandering out of borders and I get away with blue murder. People don't get away with what I'm getting away. You know, I've been to Bolivia, Mexico, Panama, all of these restricted countries, Germany, Holland, France, Belgium, you know, UK obviously a few times, Ireland 4 times now coming up. And it's all because I have this belief, I just don't care. And
so important that, isn't it? We were talking about that slightly before we started to press the record button. That is so important, isn't it? Because when you really believe something like that, that resonates from you energetically and then affects everyone and everything you interact with.
Yeah, it's this no fear, because the German girl, her name is Nina, and I'm still in touch with her. She's very private. I haven't seen her in a year, but you know, I can message her now and she say, yeah, everything okay. She doesn't need to see me, but you know, sometimes she'll pop down and say, hey, you know what, fancy a coffee? And she giggles when I talk to her about what's happened. She said, I told you. But she hasn't told me much more. She still kind of thinks we're still in the middle of a big internal battle going on the planet, which is true. But she told me about fear. And she says, all right, I'm going to talk to you about this. And we started talking. She says, no matter what you come up with an excuse or why the reason is, I can always explain why it's fear. And she gave me some really good examples. You're driving your car, you got to just nip in and throw up a letter in a mailbox. And you'll pull over, there's nowhere to park, so you'll double park, and you go, oh shit, how long do you think I can just park? That's a tiny little bit of fear. All of these things. And if you know how to control fear and have no fear, oh, I hate my job, I wish I could quit and just, you know, I really want to go traveling. And I learned how to do it. I just thought, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
In 2009, I took off to Central America, and I lived in Honduras for 3 years. And I went down there and found a place and got on an island, and you know, I started doing a few bits and pieces, and the aviation stuff was cooking. But I just went without any fear, because we're taught to be fearful. Let's talk about as a female. Oh, if you don't keep your skin, moisturized and pretty. You got to put a bit of makeup on, put a bit of mascara. You're not going to find a man. You know, you've got to sit the right way. You got to move the right way. You got to talk the right way, or else no man's going to find you attractive and get married, because you need to get married. You need to have a couple of kids. You know, it's this pressure, the Barbie lifestyle, that the white picket fence around you, that society teaches us, you know.
But I still think that's a choice, because there's so many of us that don't succumb to that. I think people use fear. I've noticed that. I think that's a really good point, because people talk about it. Like, I've heard so many people, even in our sort of community, talk about this is the most difficult time that you've ever been through, but it becomes a self-fulfilling reality, you know. And I just don't agree with that at all. And what you said with that's never been part of my life in terms of.
Yeah, but how many women want that? You know, you see it in fashion magazines, television programs, movies. They put it out to little girls very early. You know, the Prince Charming comes along on the white horse, and you have a beautiful life, and everything is rosy and peachy and champagne and flowers your whole life. And for men, it's the same.
Yeah.
Then they say you've got to stay fit, you've got to be attractive, you've got to, you know, keep your body fit.
You've got to look like Daniel Craig.
Well, he wouldn't be my first. I would imagine I prefer someone a bit taller, like Hugh Jackman. He's gay, but it doesn't matter. But I like his sort of characters he plays in films. You know, he's dark and a bit, you know, he's tall. He's about 6'6", 6'4". Craig's a bit sort of English and, you know, I like
back talking to him. Well, no, it's funny how you say this, because it is really interesting, isn't it? About you were going back to the fear, and I want you to talk a bit more about that, because it's so important about what you put out there, so we can say that it's all succumbed. I mean, my answer back to this has been the most difficult time in life. I mean, I've had the same trauma as everyone else. I lost my father at the start of the pandemic. It was hideous. But you know, as a mum, if sending my sons off to fight in the trenches in World War I would have been far more traumatic than what we've been through the last 2 years. You know, it's all relative. If you tell yourself it's the most difficult time, if you keep repeating this, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. They told us to stay home and watch Netflix and drink and get fat. We weren't sent off to the trenches to, you know, to uncertain times and a certain death in most cases.
Yeah.
But it's all about what's relevant. We become the society of spoiled people, where we expect everything for nothing. We expect it instantly, such as a microwave. I want something to eat. There you go. I want some hot water now. You know, they're not used to putting the kettle on the fire and doing it. Fear is a really, you've got to. Here's what she did to me. Now, I actually don't remember what the incident was. She said, "Tell me your most fearful incident." And I actually don't remember it. And I said, no, I won't talk about that. So, all right, let's just make it a bit deeper so people can understand it. Tell me the most disturbing incident that's ever happened in your life. Most women have a sexual incident, you know, whether it was a party and the boy makes the right move, or for men, it's often a violent uncle or a violent father. So let's just take a violent father. You know, you come home and you see him beating your mom, and you're just in that age where you're kind of understanding it, and then you realize you're absolutely filled with terror and fear, or like hanging off a cliff. And what you do with that emotion is you put it in here and you push it down. So during the exercises I went through with Nina, she says, think about your most fearful moment. I was like, oh, I don't want to think about that, you know. I don't even remember what it was. And she pushed me and pushed me and pushed me over about an hour, badgered me, thinking, tell me what it is. I don't tell you, leave me alone. So she eventually got something out of me, and pushed me. And she brought me right back to the exact fear and terror that I was thinking about that moment, and pushed me even deeper. And then when I thought I was really just going to collapse and go again, and I'd broken down, I was screaming, and fucking leave me alone. Pushed me more, pushed me on top of that again more, so amplified the fear and terror. And then, Catherine, I don't know if you've ever heard of this exercise. The whole terror and fear just was, I don't know if it was an explosion or an implosion. It just turned to love. It's the weirdest experience, and it's something not a lot of people could do. The whole terror and fear went into love, and it just went, just left me, and I just burst out laughing. I was crying. And then I went into such laughter and tears, and I just released this pain. And honestly, I really don't even remember what it was. That's how released it is. I can't remember. So whether it was a car accident or a climbing up a tree and being terrified of falling, or, heights or water or something, it just released it. So I was blown away by how liberating that was about releasing fear. And she says, now you understand how much fear controls you. She said, what happened at the end is it turned into love. And it filled the whole void that it had occupied before. Love filled that void. So I was like really, really shocked. I was probably about 30 at the time, maybe 32. Then she says, okay, let's talk about fear. She says, fear, you got to think about it like different nationalities, okay, like people. She says, here's fear, and he's the Mexican guy, and he's about to have a party inside you. So what does he do? He calls his best friend Paranoia, who brings over the Jägermeister, yeah, and then he calls his other friend jealousy and hatred and vengeance, and they all start drinking and doing shots together. What happens? The party all gets aggressive, it gets messy, you're throwing up everything. But if you invite love into your house, love will bring you something nice to eat. He brings, here's a nice cake and a nice something, I brought you some fresh water. And he brings compassion and compatibility and understanding, forgiveness. It brings all the positive emotions with you. So if you keep fear out of the party, you don't need doing Jaeger shots and tequila shots and loads of Heinekens, because you're just going to be sick. What you'd rather do is have that's really nice, fresh. Where's that from? Beautiful, perfect water. Have something here, some fresh vegetables. So I understood that you've got to keep the love in there, because the first, second, and third cousins and all the best friends of love are very positive emotions: forgiving, understanding, and compassion. And all of this, it all emanates through love. But look at the emotions associated with fear: hatred, jealousy, vengeance. Aggression, lying. All of these things are all associated. So do you like those emotions? Oh no, I don't. So why would you invite one guy to the party who's going to bring all these other idiots to the party? And I understood that because I was going through my party days there. So, and she said, think about this. She said, are you worried about something? Yes. Can you do anything about it? No. Then why are you worried? She said, let's rephrase the question. Are you worried about something? Yes. Can you do something about it? Yes. Then why are you worried? Because either way, don't be worried. Do you have to pay a bill? Yes. Can you pay it? Yes. Then what's the problem? Just pay it. Are you worried about it? Can you do anything about it? No, I can't pay it because I don't have any money. Then why are you worried? Stop worrying about things that you can't control. There's no point. Worry is, again, another negative emotion associated with first, second, third cousins, next door neighbors, downstairs flat, of fear. It's always about fear. And ask anybody what's holding them back in life. Do you like your job? No, I hate it. Well, why don't you change it? Oh, I got to pay my bills. That's fear. And this is the thing. It needs to be driven in. I didn't understand it, but it was driven into me through this exercise so deep. I only think a handful of people on the planet could go through that. It was horrific. I remember how bad it was, like having to go back in the memory, talking about, and then pushing me so hard and so deep. It was such a deep hole. You didn't think you were going to come out. But then all of a sudden it just, I don't know, implodes. I think it just left me. And that huge void, all filled with love. It's the best feeling in the world. So now, I'll give you another example. Police pull you over and they're saying, oh, you're going to go to jail. And then you say, oh no, I don't want to go to jail. And then you realize, I'm not going to jail. Stop filling me full of fear. It's intimidation and fear saying, no. All right, let's go to jail if that's what you want to do. But all the paperwork that you have to fill out, and it's not going anywhere because this is bullshit. So you really want to waste all your day? And I'll give you one more example because I could go on all day about this.
No.
I was standing in a bar once, and I'd been up for a couple of days with my old friends from London drinking. And you get no sleep. You're just kind of dopey. So I'm looking around like this, and all of a sudden there's a guy similar sort of height and build to me. He says, "Oi, have you been staring at my fucking girlfriend? You've been staring at her, haven't ya?" And I said, right in my face, aggression. And you got two choices. Well, you got three: fight, flight, or just, roll down, pretend you're dead. So I said, I'm going to try this a different way. And I said, oh, hold on. I said, first of all, if I've been doing that, that's completely by accident, because I've been up for 2 days drinking. So I'm going to offer you an apology, because it's not intentional. I'm just half asleep, I'm gormless. And he gave me a look like that. I said, and second of all, I said, look, absolutely no disrespect. I don't know you, and you don't know me. So either one of us can make a bad decision and say, okay, let's fight. Now, I don't know about you, but I've seen a lot of street fights, and it's not glamorous what you see in the films and everyone's looking cool, I said, what's going to happen is we're going to end up grappling. All of those buttons on your shirt, and it's a really nice shirt, are going to get torn off. Me too. We're going to end up rolling around on the ground, and all of the cigarette butts and old booze, and we're just going to look like two idiots rolling around. I said, I'd much rather apologize and buy you a beer and have you enjoy your weekend here, because the last thing I want to do is fight somebody I don't know. And I could be ex-military, I could be a bloody lunatic. You too could be like that. And he went, yeah, you know what? You're fucking right, mate. It's just bollocks, isn't it? Let's have a drink. So responding again with a positive emotion against a negative emotion, because what he was using was fear. He was feeling insecure that another man was looking at his girlfriend. And he felt threatened by it and had to do something about it, because he was fearful that his girlfriend would find him an inferior male who was scared and not willing to fight for her honor, I suppose. And what I did is says, I love you. I think you're amazing. You have a beautiful shirt on. Your girlfriend's beautiful. You're a really good looking guy. Why do you want to ruin your whole weekend rolling around in the dirt and the mud with me, the blood in the mud? You don't want to do that, mate. I love you. I'm going to show some compassion. I'm going to show some respect. I want to buy a beer and know you. Anyway, that's what happened. We ended up talking for about an hour. And then his girlfriend became angry that he was spending so much time away with his newfound friend. And then I got that night, it was like late afternoon, I realized, I said, oh my God. I said, responding with love and positive emotion in aggressive situations. This is a hidden secret that no one's ever told me about. So then I started raccooning around with, great situation, London, road rage. I mean, people get up in the morning, when they reach for their car keys, they go, as soon as they go, they relax, and as soon as they get it, I'm going to fucking kill someone at a time. Because they associate this with pain and frustration. Because traffic restrictions, speed cameras, parking meters, parking wardens, these immediately give them a bad mood. When someone cuts you up in the lane, or you arguing about parking, I always respond and say, I'm so sorry. Absolutely, you can jump in front of me. I'm not in a hurry. I can see you're working. I'm on holiday. I'm sorry, mate. I'm really stressed out. Amazing how people respond. Our human nature to respond with positive feelings and emotions. It never ceases to amaze me how much you can get away with. Even in stressful situations, being arrested and, banged up, just start chatting to them. You're like, it's cool, isn't it? It's a nice place. Have you just painted it? It's very nice, this police station. Yeah, it's all right, isn't it? And now I deliberately do things like that just to test how much it goes. And, I always making mental notes. Like your hair, the interesting ring. Oh man, your shoes are cool. Even you can take it as a flirtatious movement in a supermarket, because you can see the girl hates her job just doing that. And beep, all day long. Say, hey, how's your day going? What are you doing this weekend? You got plans? It's going to be nice weather, All this stuff is all because I banished fear from my life, Catherine, and I was very blessed and lucky to have that experience. And it just, once you take love and positivity into your life, it's like a bright shining light that just lights this path for you, and nothing else can get around it. Because if you take the concept physics of light and darkness only exists because there is no light. And as soon as you switch the light on, it illuminates everything. Where does the darkness go? It pushes it out. And that's the other concept that she explained to me. Switch on that light, Mahony. Switch it on, keep it on. The darkness cannot touch you if you've got that light on all the time. It's so true.
It's very, very true. And I think, so many people, we're so used to sort of blaming others for our reaction. And I've said it time and time again, one of my favorite quotes from Wayne Dyer: if you squeeze an orange juice is going to come out. You're never going to get grapefruit juice. You're not going to get lemon juice. And it's like, if you're reacting in anger or spite or hate or jealousy, it's because that's inside you. So you're much better off acknowledging it, taking responsibility for it, because then you can transform it into something more positive.
Yeah, there's a new expression that I think it's an American that's infiltrated our dialect now, which is you own it, own it. But I'm very good saying, you know what, I'm the first to put my hand up and say, what I did absolutely wrong. You're right, that's wrong. But I'm very good at turning it round, because I'll give you an example recently. A relationship I had, a short one but great one, ended because of fear. And I started laughing. I said, you're full of fear. No, I'm not. I don't have any fear. I said, come on then, let's go back and forth. So as it all came out, it turns out that the distance between us, me living in a different country, my lifestyle, women automatically think that I'm meeting interesting women all over the place. I'm like, no, I don't. Most of the time, I don't really want to talk to them because they're asleep. And it's all about, when you get to this sort of level that we're at, you've got to have that physical, spiritual connection. Because pornography, strippers, hookers, they don't interest me at all. I'm not interested. How many beautiful women I've met in my life, Catherine, that look amazing, but then when you start peeling the layers away, underneath all of what they're putting on, their clothes and everything, they're ugly. I know so many beautiful women, but inside they're sad and not attractive. So the relationship ended because she was fearful that she wouldn't be able to keep my interest. I said, well, you're projecting your own fears to hold you back. And I said, that's silly, because you're making a reaction based on fact that you're presuming that's going to happen. I said, you should just let go of the reins and see what happens. But we're good friends. It wasn't a problem. But I started laughing, saying, you've stopped something good because you're frightened that it won't continue. I said, well, why not enjoy the moment? You're not going to jump off the ferry halfway between it because you might be worried that, might be a bit bumpy near the harbor. Fear. Any situation, I can turn it right round and pull it all apart, and it's always fear. And look what they do in the media. It's fear, monkeypox, polio, 9 million going to die. If you don't get your third booster, you're going to die. If you drive over 70 miles an hour, how many people could die over 70 miles an hour? It's everything that they try to control us with. It's the biggest emotion. It's fear. And they put, tell kids stories. Don't go into the woods. There's wolves in the woods. There's leprechauns in the woods. Don't go into the woods. I mean, okay, a lot of
leprechauns. Yeah.
Not in the same
in the background there, two little wolverines there watching. So what next then, in terms of, so with all these skills you've got, obviously you're doing a really great job getting the message out there, but what's really calling you for the next stage of your development? What are you really thinking, right, this is where I want to go next?
Oh, you've got good questions. You're actually making me do internal processing now. You usually got the answer. There is no answer to that, Catherine, because okay, a lot of people we all have different levels of skills. A lot of the people that we all know that we're talking to a lot, and it's all around the personality. I don't really have a plan, to be honest. There's no wall chart in my house saying, okay, this is what I'm going to do next, then I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this. No, it's when I do my interviews with people, like even now, I would consider this channeling. It's because I can feel it here. It's this exciting, like butterfly feeling when you channel and you open up and you speak truthfully. And it's like a drug. I feel it's like an adrenaline-based thing, because it's really nice to open up your soul and not be thinking about what you're saying. Lucy Davis is great at it. She just switches on. I was like, holy cow. She just goes, boom, it's there. It takes me a couple of minutes to get into mine. What I'm going to continue doing is doing what I do best, which is not really thinking about what I'm doing, it seems like, because even the last 2 weeks has been amazing. I've introduced several people. Kate Rain's story is exploding. That's good. I love what happens with Huna's exercises on burning masks. I think what am I passionate about is, I think this. I don't know if you noticed when I was in Glastonbury, but I hug everybody. Even the men, come here, give us a hug. and how people respond to that human contact again. I mean, I am very loving, naturally very affectionate with people that are in my life, but even with strangers, you know, I mean, I must have given you about 30 kisses on the cheek over the 3 days. How are you in the morning? See you later at night. Gives a hug. See you next time. I am like that. But I think just pushing that bright light energy, I like to meet people and take a few minutes just to listen to what they're saying. And they don't even know what I'm doing, but I'm actually just pushing love at them, pushing love in there. And just fooling around on all these little stories that I find. I'll tell you what I'm passionate about is changing the whole education system about all of this left-wing bullshit that they're trying to get children to masturbate in rooms in the house. I mean, it's beyond shocking how this has slipped through the curriculum, and they're trying to teach this absolute filth to a 3 and a 4-year-old. I mean, I got sent this yesterday.
Horrendous. It's just absolutely horrendous. I don't think most people really can grasp the fact that it's true. I mean, like I was speaking to Dr. Christiane Northrop yesterday, and you know, most people think you're joking when you say in California they made it legal to kill a baby up to 7 or 10 days after birth, and people just think that's impossible. They just can't comprehend that these things are actually true.
Making it up. I know. I mean, I didn't know that, but I don't even doubt it. Listen to this. This is from British Columbia. So 4-year-olds at an Alert Bay, British Columbia school were reportedly given homework assignments on touching their private body parts. The worksheet asks students to draw pictures of places in their home where they can masturbate privately. This is 4. Here's a copy of the worksheet. Now, I might actually be able to put this on the screen if you bear with me, because it's so important to for people to understand that we're not making this shit up.
I can't even comprehend. It's the same situation to what the medical profession have been doing, where so many people have known it's wrong but haven't said anything. What teacher could allow that to happen in their classroom?
Yeah,
it just beggars belief, really.
It really does. Let me open this back up in the full screen. I'll hit share screen. It was there, but that's not it. Hang on a second. I'll stop it. That's my background. You got to see this. It's important for the viewers to see as well. Hang on a second. I figured it out. Yes. Right. There's the worksheet, and can you see that, Catherine? Yeah. Body smart right from the start. Some children like to touch their own private body parts, and some children don't. What places in your home are private? I mean, is this seriously pedo? This is gathering information about where's safe for them to be touched and nobody's going to watch them.
God.
And it says, draw a picture of the private places where you can touch your penis or vulva if you want to. At 4.
God.
I mean, if they'd sent that home to me, I would have got dressed all in black and there would have been blood. Honestly, I don't think I'd be able to control it. I would do something really devious and clever and take all of these people out one by one, you know. And this is why there's so much of the school board being taken over by concerned parents, because shocking isn't the word. I mean,
it just beggars belief. And as I said, I think this is the problem, is when things, it's like they say, you know, obviously if you're going to be a burglar, just be really blatant about it, because if you don't look nervous then you just walk straight into someone's house, people don't question it. It's things like that. It's like, it's so horrific. People just don't believe it's true.
Yeah. But I think this is my calling, because I'm a very alpha male. I can be very aggressive. I am trained. I know exactly. I've done a lot of martial arts and ring fighting. I am a nasty bastard if I'm in that situation. I don't choose not to be because I don't like it. But if there's not more men fighting for the rights, because what they do now is they've masculized the women and feminized the men. So men saying, well, I don't really like to make a scene, but would you mind, not teaching my children who are 3 and 4 how to touch themselves in private parts in the house? That's not going to change anything. What happens is the people that are making these decisions need to be full of fear, because they need people like me in front of them saying, if you do it again, I'm coming back and you're going to die horribly, or you're going to be beaten to death, or something horrible is going to happen. They need to live in fear of people of being brought to justice. but they're not being brought to justice because of the court systems. Look at all the grooming gangs that have been in the north of England. That, you know, Tommy Robinson's page. You should look at the stuff that Tommy Robinson puts out on his Telegram. They were all saying he's a racist and stuff. No, he's exposed all of the corruption from the police force covering up grooming gangs in the north of England. It's horrific what went on, and nobody was held responsible.
Yeah, and look, and how long has this been going on for? Forever, you know, that we know.
Nothing changes. Ted Heath. Cecil Park, what was that guy? Cecil, that great big fat horrible geezer. Cecil was raping young boys in the 70s. All these MPs, Jimmy Savile, you know. And here's something. Well, let me just finish. They need to be scared of parents. I mean, I know some mothers, you know, really would, without a question, kill somebody if they did anything, if they could get their hands on them. And I'm all for it, you know. I think an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. It's all very well being forgiven, but come on. Look at this case in Jezreel Maxwell now, okay? One of the witnesses said she was a 10-year-old girl and she was raped 3 times a day on average on that island where Jeffrey Epstein took her to, and Jesleen, right? So, okay, she's a 10-year-old girl that was brought to that island against her will or tricked. Don't know for sure, but she's on the island, she's underage, there's no excuse. She's being raped 3 times a day, and now because Maxwell was responsible for getting her there with Epstein, okay, she's going to jail. But why does it not talk about who's doing the raping?
Exactly. And this is the big, you know, cover up, isn't it? It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
You know, if she said, I was raped 3 times a day, does she not, all these well-to-do people, because they're not just going to be random people in a dark nightclub. It's not like it happened in an LA discotheque. It was a very exclusive island where there's a list. And no doubt that these people are recognizable, because even if it was 20 years ago, people don't change so much. But she's been convicted, Maxwell, rightly so, to life imprisonment. But why is nobody talking about who the perpetrators of the crime were? She was convicted on her side of the crime. Who's being mentioned? Why the rapists not being mentioned? And this is a huge scandal. Another cover-up by the deep state and the extreme left wing to try and cover all of this shit up. And it's time that people, you know, they're not going to take it anymore. We're so close now to people just exploding. Yeah. And there's gender issue they're trying to do. They're trying to convince your kids. I know a little girl came home recently and said, Mummy, if I want to be a Muslim, there's nothing you can do to stop me. She was 7. She said, well, where's that come from? That's what the teacher told me. Is your teacher Muslim? Yeah. See? People need to be aware more and keep an eye on what's going on in the schools, because you need to, as a parent, a responsible parent, it's good that you mentioned this because it is a subject I'm passionate about. They need to get a copy of the curriculum. You say, okay, what we do in this seat. You don't even have to do the whole year. Say, right, for the next 6 weeks, I want to copy what you're teaching my kids. And why are there no CCTVs?
Yeah, I heard you mention this before. So as a parent, I completely disagree with you about that.
Oh, good. Come on, then. Let's debate that, yeah.
So I heard you say that on someone else's, and I can't remember with who, but I completely disagree about that. So I would not, I mean, my children are out of school now, but I would not want my children on CCTV because there's too many perverts watching them. And if as a parent, I thought I needed CCTV to feel comfortable sending my child to school, I shouldn't be sending them to school. I should be taking responsibility and taking them out of school. There's no point collecting the evidence after the event. And you know, if people think, you know, in one respect, we're arguing against the surveillance society because of all the controls it gives us. And then the next respect saying that if your gut and intuition is telling you that your child's not safe in school, then do the responsible thing and take them out of school. I'm sick of this generation of people that think that they can pass the blame off to someone else. If you've genuinely got that concern over sending your child anywhere, then your job as a parent is not to send them, is my opinion.
Yeah, I think you've got a good point. You know, I agree with that in some aspects, but, you know, CCTV is evidence if something's going wrong. Imagine your kids being bullied, or they're saying your kids are racist and they're saying the wrong things, you know, and they're getting railroaded. The great thing about CCTV, it's evidence for the truth, and that's what I'm an advocate for. Let's just take soccer. Let's take football. That wasn't a goal. Yes, it was. No, it wasn't. Yes, it was. Right. Let's check the
thing. If that's where you're going to take society, where it relies on someone else watching CCTV and to do it. I mean, one, who's going to be making that decision? Because we can see plenty of evidence on TV and like in the court case like that, and nothing happens with it. I just think when it comes to your children, the butt lies with the parents.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And, you know, I think I've heard so many criticisms of the education system, which most of it I agree with. And I'm like, well, don't send your children to school. The time is to really stand up and make those decisions and put the right priorities there, in my opinion. But as I said, I think once you start going down that surveillance society route, we know where that is.
I don't think it's necessarily for surveillance. I'm just, I use those words, and it would be from the back of the room, or, you just have it on the teacher. All I want to do is I just want to know what they're teaching, and I want to be able to have access to that, because the problem is these people of respect and responsibility have been brainwashed, Catherine. Teachers used to be respectful career now, but now what they're doing is they're teaching all this gender confusion, masturbating in private areas of the house, and if you're not on top of the curricula, they could give you a load of shit and then teach something else. Because teachers,
if I'm a parent and I know that's going on, my job is to be having those conversations with my children and saying and warning them about this and everything. Yeah. So yes, I can see both sides of the argument, obviously, but it's still this, to me, what you're describing is very much a victim mentality of like looking to catch someone out. Why not go and have the conversation before the term starts and raise it with your teacher and get a gut feel for whether that's a teacher that you feel safe putting your children with?
I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. But let's put it another way. I'm not trying to swing your opinion, because I am with you on that. I just want more protection. If you live in a house and you've got a motion sensor light on at night, it's there to deter problems. That's it. It's not to attract people. Oh, here's a light because now it's easy to break in. It's to say, hey, we know what's going on. And this is the kind of feeling that I would expect the camera to do, saying, do your job properly, because you are under, some form of observation. We're going to turn the spotlight on you. Because a lot of these teachers, they're not truthful about what they're feeling and thinking and what they want to teach, because they're all subject to certain examinations, but I mean, how far back do they go?
But who would be watching that? So you're happy
I think
in the school to have access to your child on
I wouldn't be monitoring it, but I certainly think that there could be something done, because it basically boils down to parents. You're right, Catherine. Parents not caring enough and taking the time out of their lifestyles and their busy days to say, right, I want to know what they're teaching my kids.
And doesn't that come with, when they come back from home, you drop everything, you sit down, you have a snack, a drink with them, and ask them about their day and see what comes out? Because particularly when you're talking about little children, the beauty of little children is they're very honest.
Yeah, but most of the time, I mean, I remember, I've got a son who's 24. What did you learn at school today? Nothing. But
that's that's at that age. You don't ask a 5-year-old when they come out of school. A 5-year-old doesn't say nothing. They start telling you all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Teenager, fair enough, but a teenager, you're going to
it's already been past that. Well, I'll tell you what we should do. We're both kind of, all right, that's a bit extreme, but I think it needs to be more. There needs to be some sort of security blanket put into place. A light, it's to deterrent. We need a deterrent for the teachers to stick to the curriculum and not put their personal input. Like, if you want to be a Muslim, that's fine. No, it's not about giving your personal opinion. If somebody buys a car and you can see they're liking that, oh, don't buy that, it's rubbish. Oh, that's a horrible color. Well, I actually like yellow.
I completely agree with you about looking at the curriculum, though, because the trouble is they could be teaching them all this while sticking to the curriculum, because as you've just shown, what they're being taught now, most parents, if they actually realise, would be completely horrified.
Yeah.
And you didn't. I mean, even when my children were at middle school, so they would have been 7, 8 years old, we, as the parents, got invited to go in and sit through the sex education classes that they were going to be given. And to
I would like that, because, where do babies come from? Maybe you should ask your mum and dad about that. Is it up to a teacher to teach something? I wouldn't want, what I did with my son, I said, listen, you're going to get all sorts of bullshit. They're going to tell you all crazy stuff. I said, look, there's a book here written specifically for children your age when you're wondering about sex. And I'm going to leave it in the hallway. And when you're ready, just pick it up and read the book. You don't have to ask me or your mum anything embarrassing. Just it's all there. And sure enough, about 3 weeks later, I could see it being moved. And it was great. And I read through every page of the book. I thought, oh, that's good. It just explains it. It doesn't explain that there's 15 different genders and which bathroom to use. And, you know, just purely, you know, it was written very nicely. These are the facts. And when a man and a woman fall in love, or, you know, it wasn't all that. It was just factual. And it was the best thing we did, because then we didn't have to go through the awkward conversations. He didn't have to listen to his friends who've got weird rumors and theories about where babies come from. It's all there for you, mate. And sure enough, that's what we did. It was great. Drugs is another one. I told him, I said, listen, when you get older, I said, you're going to be offered drugs. You grew up in Holland. I said, they're everywhere in this country. And I said, how are you going to handle it? Because if you say no, they'll keep badgering you. Go on, no, we're all doing it. It's cool with my friend. And it was fantastic. I'm fine. I didn't die. So I said, they're going to badger you and pester you and peer pressure you. I said, what you do is you tell them, I really love to, but I've got a very unusual problem with my heart with one of the valves. Anything in my system can stimulate it. It shut the valve down, that's it, I'm dead. I can't do that, guys. I wish I could, I can't. And they said, oh, shit, really? All right. And they never asked him again. And he still partied with them. He still went out and had a few beers with them. But whenever the pills were coming out or whatever, they didn't offer him and pressure him anymore. And he's still going to school with these guys. And he said to me now, he's now 25. He said, yeah, a lot of them are all fucking, too much. He says, I can see it in their faces. And they're like, what day is it today? He says, it's true. What's happening? Yeah. So all of these things, being responsible. So to go back to the original question, Catherine, I'm passionate about changing the system and going back to how beautiful things could be, because now it's just a cesspit of lies and filth and propaganda and confusion, because they've reversed everything. They've taken love and put in hate. They've divided everybody, Jews, Muslims, Christians, you all hate each other. Let's have another war over there and let's have a war over here. And you're supposed to hate them because he's from Pakistan and you're from India. All of this is wrong. I mean, would all of these kids, if you put them on a desert island, grew up without any racism being taught, would it still be there? I really don't think it would be. Nobody would know. Nobody would know that black guys are supposed to be, stereotypical bad swimmers but great athletes. They would just, he's a really good swimmer. Or bad swimmer, he's a really fast runner, though, but he's a terrible swimmer. These things are taught. Racism, to my opinion, is taught from father to son, mostly. And they encourage it. If your kid comes back and starts effing and cursing at 5, you say, oi, don't you do that. That's wrong. Where do you learn that from? Oh, one of the kids at school. It's all happened to us. The same with racism. If you stop it in the household or you encourage it in the household, it's what the rules are. It's a funny thing.
I think it's been a great, it has been a great awakening, because so many people now are re-looking at, I was one of the women that was completely down there. Yeah, you can have a family, you can work, you can do it all and everything. And you look back and you can see how you've been brainwashed into all the things. But the good thing is now is most people are asking a lot more questions and they are more aware. And I'm so pleased I'm the age I am. I wouldn't go back to being younger for anything. Things were so easy when we grew up. It was much more straightforward.
Go down the pub, have a few beers, turn around. So she's nice or he's nice. Let's have a bit of a dance. Give us your phone number. Or I'll see you down here next weekend. It was very simple. No mobile phones.
Exactly. No photographic evidence either. So that was a good one.
Who would ever heard of being roofied? You put something in what? You get stuff. This isn't a James Bond film. He hasn't put anything in your drink.
Yeah, I know. It was very simple. But we are going back to some of those, and awareness is key. You said it many times today. When you shine the light on these things, then the dark can't survive. And
gotta have that bright light all the time.
But yeah,
you gotta have it. And what's amazing is now you see. Before we'll wind this down now, because we got about an hour before people's attention spans actually going.
Yeah, they'll be off. Yeah,
they'll be off, putting the kettle on, watching Coronation Street. But now you see, I've reanalyzed even negative things. I reanalyze it. Let's just take the mainstream media for the last 2 years that most people have been aware of. They've been pumping out lies and propaganda, BBC, CNN, all of them. But I took that a step. I said, well, let's reverse that negativity. What has that done that's positive? And what the positive aftermarket or after effect of such lies coming out of the BBC is most people say now, I don't believe anything the BBC say.
Yeah.
But when they've been trying to gaslight everybody, what they've actually done is they've flipped it. Most people say, are you joking me? Monkeypox? Oh, shut up. They just don't believe it. They just don't believe it anymore. The numbers and viewers that are just dropping through the floor. I mean, CNN Plus tried to open up. It lasted about 35 seconds. Just nobody watched it. Here's the other thing. The whole Joe Biden case. Oh, my God, I can't believe he's president. You know, he's an idiot. But look at it. It's now making people say, really, that's the best that America have got. This is impossible. This is just lies. It's a show. I mean, what Joe Biden has done is to show the entire world how bad a president could be if you don't get the right one in there. I mean, even falling off the bicycle incident the other day. Look at it, guys.
I know.
And where was he supposed to be? Because I can tell you straight away that was California. Because there's only 3 places on the planet. Because of my film background, you've got California, South Africa, and southern Spain have that light. And that was California. Now, I don't know if he was public that he was in California. But look at it. He rode up to a crowd who all had their phones out. Where were the Secret Service around them?
Exactly.
You're telling me that an American president can go for a bike ride in the mountains and then run into a mob armed with cell phones, videotaping it, with no Secret Service around them? Come on.
I know, the whole thing is just completely ridiculous. Just completely ridiculous.
It's a show. It's to show people that, and this is how you turn things around. Oh my God, I hate Joe Biden. I'm saying, I love it. Because every time he goes on and does a speech, you get a few more people saying, oh my God, this is, you know, I just don't believe it anymore. It loses all respect, and it just shows you exactly how bad things have got when this is what they're trying to make us believe, when they're spoon feeding us. Yeah, he's a great president, $7 a gallon, have some more.
I think it does have to get to that stage where, you know, it gets so ridiculous, and it's got to that stage. So now, folks, we're happy for you to just turn the TV off and put the other one back on again, please.
They've done us a favor, Catherine. They've done us a favor, because each day that the mainstream media puts out more and more rubbish, it's more and more people saying, you know what, this is a lie, that he's not the president. This is monkeypox. No, I'm not going to take another vaccine. I've had 2. I'm still getting sick. That's another weird thing, you know. If you got polio, but you've had 2 vaccines, what you'd say was, hang on a second, the vaccine isn't working. But people are not coming to that.
Thank God I got the vaccine. Otherwise, my polio would have been a lot worse.
Oh, you know, I've been shivering all night. I've got brain fog. Can't work a calculator. But imagine if I didn't have those 2 vaccines, I'd have been way worse. Way worse. How much worse could it be?
And sometimes natural selection.
You know, as much as that sounds like the final solution, I do kind of feel that this has been an intelligence test, which goes back to one of the early things I said. You will lose 50% of the people in your life. All idiots, move this way, please. And
well, unfortunately, no society, no species is sustainable in nature with the complete idiocracy and lack of self-responsibility that humans have done. As I've said many times, you know, the only species in nature that follows unstable leaders is humans, although my vet friend said lemmings as well, so you might have a point. And also, we're the only species that's forgotten how to feed ourselves. So unfortunately, when you get to that level of stupidity, there has to be some action, and we're now seeing it.
You know, I went to a restaurant last night, and there was something out the corner of my eye. I looked over, and it was one of those robotic tray bringers. Have you seen them yet?
No, I don't get out that much.
I was shocked at saying, well, am I in Blade Runner? What? This is like a nice restaurant in Spain. It's very traditional, yet they've got a robotic. It's like one of the robots that cleans your apartment, but it's tall. It's got shelves on it. So they put the food on, and it goes to the table, and then the waiter walks over and takes the food off the little robot and puts it back. And this thing is creeping around us. I'm like, mate, I don't want that thing near me. I don't like it. Because you know, how difficult is it for you? Even one of the waiters put a plate on it with a bread roll. So the bread roll came to the table. I said, how difficult is it for you to walk from the kitchen with that? I said, this thing's taking your job, mate. It's not making it any easier. Why are you using that thing? And it's on a tiled floor, so its wheels are going click, 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 click. I said, it sounds like there's a bunch of teenagers in high heels running around beside me. I said, I couldn't stand it. I was like, man, I don't like this technology, you know? And QR codes when you want to eat something, I refuse.
I don't use them at all. I haven't used a QR code once, and I sit there with my phone in hand. I say, no, sorry, I don't know how to do it. And they say, don't worry, I will show you. I say, it would take you so long to show me. Don't bother. Give me a menu. So, yeah, I'm not using a QR code. I'm just not using it, I'm afraid.
Yeah, forcing that propaganda down us, so we're all just brainless drones. You know, this teaching, you know, going back to the parent thing, is the reason they're doing this is they want children to think that the state is their parent. They want to break up the family unit, Catherine. Family unit's very strong. Mother fighting bear, you know, mama wolf, father bear defending the cubs, you know, and they want to break that up by saying, okay, you don't need a dad because, you know, he's not around anyway, and we're going to support your mum because she's single, and then we're going to teach them how to be 15 different genders at school. And then the mum's, you know, going to be brain dead by eating processed food all the time and just watching television. Hypno-toad. And you got to identify that and say, no. You know, there's certain other things I can't say on camera because there's things about my life I like to keep private to protect them. Like my brother's kids and stuff like that. You know, I don't talk about them. But they don't even have a TV in the house. Well, they have a television, but it's not connected to Celestial or Sky or anything. It's just watch a movie, Netflix.
We were so lucky growing up because where we live in the middle of nowhere, the internet, when my children were growing up, we had such bad internet connection. They couldn't use any of the games or do any of the stuff. It was absolutely fantastic. So they were out playing with the animals all day. Now, they hated it at the time because none of their friends would come over because they couldn't use any of the computer games, but it was fantastic.
Yeah. I mean,
best thing ever. Yeah.
I never bought any of the computer games. I actually only think I bought about 1 or 2 albums in my youth. I was constantly outside, no matter what the weather. Growing up in Ireland with fishing and jumping around in the woods and jumping on the back of cows, playing cowboys. That was good fun. But Catherine, I hope this is.
Yeah, it's been lovely. It's been really, really lovely. As I said, it's just great to meet someone that talks more than I do.
Well, you was your interview. That's the thing. That's the thing. I'll probably ring you. I'll call you up and say, get you chatting. I actually am interested in your animal work. We didn't get a lot of time to chat before, so we'll do a reciprocal interview. And I'll talk to you about your animal work because you know what? It's horses that I cannot connect with. These are the animals. I can read a dog or a cat instantly, and most of the other animals, but horses, I don't seem to be able to get on their wavelength. I don't know why.
Oh, next time you're in England, come over and we'll sort that out. Yeah, I've got 2.
Yeah, I actually have to use them a lot in filming, and I'm not scared of them. I just can't read them. Is that in a good mood or a bad mood? Like, you know, you see a dog wagging its tail, you know, or a cat's purring.
Yeah.
But a horse is such a huge, powerful animal. And I don't know where they are on the intelligence scale. Are they sort of more intelligent than dogs or?
It's a different intelligence, isn't it? I think each species has got its own special skills, but energetically, they're absolutely brilliant at reading people's vibration. They really, really are. But being a prey animal, they're very different relationship to humans to, say, a dog does. But it's absolutely fascinating when you see that, and it's interesting to do that. So we'll definitely have a chat about that sometime.
You know, I don't have particularly bad experiences with them.
Yeah.
They do come up to me, actually. My friend Frankie, he does a lot. He's got the Viking beard and the hair and everything, so he's always doing films and he has to ride a lot, so he does a lot of riding. So I go and see him and they always, you know, sticking their head on me, and so it's interesting that, but we'll have a chat about that soon. Yeah. I'm going to the airport to pick somebody up. I've got a secret surprise guest and I'm going to explode her on the market. And in fact, you need to talk about this, so we'll hit the pause button. Sorry to go behind the scenes, guys.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks, everyone, for watching. If you stuck with us this long, we appreciate you so much.
Thank you.